Hello, welcome to today's Intellicut software for Aerocut cutters, Art2Finish live webinar demonstration. We call this series the Art2Finish demonstration series because what we will be doing is demonstrating the entire process of the bundled solution, workflow solution that shows from the artwork all the way to completion of the finishing process. The Intellicut software comes included with the machine and is intended to alleviate any inefficiencies created in the workflow process. The idea is that what we will show today from artwork, you have everything efficiently driving to completion of the finished product. Intellicut allows that to happen through direct network capabilities so that there is no inefficiencies in the workflow sequence. Intellicut software comes included with the Aerocut Velocity and the Aerocut Prime. The software is completely paid for as the purchase price is covered with the purchase of either the Velocity or the Prime, and also 1 year of annual licensing is included with the purchase of those machines. That annual licensing begins when the software is installed and the customer or the user of the device is ready to implement the workflow solution. It does not begin when the machine is purchased, so we actually give an entire year of usage of the software from when the start date of when the customer is ready to begin. That software licensing includes training, one-on-one personalized training via webinar and phone with an individual like myself. It includes ongoing product updates and enhancements. Some newer features that we'll discuss today are actually features that have been added based on ongoing updates of the product, as well as technical support. It's an award-winning software, and it's one of the first of its kind tools to be a finishing software designed specifically for a specific type of finishing equipment. Intellicut software is an imposition and variable data tool that is customized and made entirely for finishing on these devices to create as efficient of workflow as possible with as little of inefficiencies between back and forth of graphic designers and machine operators. This is an exclusive technology. It's specifically built for these devices, and it is something that is unique to the Aerocut product line that sets it apart from other machines in this in this space. Intellicut utilizes the advantages offered of the Aerocut by having that device offer an Ethernet port as a way to access and control the Aerocut cutter. Normally in this space, machines have a specific computer that's hardwired directed to the cutter that acts as the controller. By utilizing the Ethernet port on the back of the machine, any computer in the office can download Intellicut, install it, and use it as both an imposition tool for graphic designers that simultaneously acts as a controller for the machine. As you'll see here, a graphic designer will create a template layout and create a PDF for printing, send that to the printer, and in the background, the Intellicut software will simultaneously program the Aerocut. So when that page is printed, an operator of the cutter, who is usually a different individual than who's doing the graphic design, all they're doing is picking up the pages from the printer, walking over to the Aerocut cutter, scanning a barcode, and walking away. The operators of the Aerocut device can rest assured that all they need to do is simply take the print and feed it into the cutter. There is no manual process, there is no manual programming, or there is no need to go back and forth between programming machine, as is general with the competition, having the template programmed at the cutter, and then sending those designs back into the graphic design department and having to go back and forth until the template layout is accurate and ready to be finished. Another huge advantage of using this workflow is that it alleviates any problems between ensuring that an accurate layout is created. These slitter cutter creaser devices, all slitter cutter creaser devices, have a number of rules based on how the blades inside the machine are able to move in conjunction with one another. This often creates inefficiencies and friction between graphic design departments ensuring that they're creating the layouts correctly and operators of the device ensuring that they've programmed those measurements into the machine accurately. With our system, the Intellicut software has a exclusive technology called Smart Layout Assistant. It knows inherently every rule that's required and all layout requirements of the Aerocut cutter. All the operator does, and what we'll see here in a second, is to create a template, you simply indicate paper size you're printing on, the cut size of the job that you're cutting, and with that information, the Intellicut software automatically ensures that you're creating a cut compatible for the Aerocut layout. It meets all regulations, it automatically programs the device, and so there is no manual finagling or calculations to ensure that the Aerocut cutter can accept the layout that's being created. That's another huge inefficiency that we've eliminated by creating and offering this Aerocut-based Intellicut and position software. Today's product demonstration will start now. I'm going to hop into the in-position software on the computer. We're going to create a number of jobs together. We're going to talk about the different types of jobs there are. We're going to send a few jobs custom into the Aerocut's memory. I'm going to take PDFs we create today. I'm going to send them to the printer in our office here. And once those are printed out, and after we've completed creating the jobs in Intellicut, we're going to switch to a live video session and have an operator take those jobs from the printer and walk through the cutting process on the Aerocut, including custom jobs that we created on the fly together today. This is something that we'll be doing in 10, 15 minutes tops, creating multiple jobs and watching them finish on the machine with no manual programming whatsoever. My computer is simply on the same local office area network that is the Aerocut is plugged into with an Ethernet cord on the back of it. The Aerocut offers 3 distinct types of templates, and we're going to create both a preset template today as well as a Manuset. I'm going to talk very briefly about what those are, and then we're going to hop in and create them in the Intellicut software. The Aerocut cutters, both the Aerocut Velocity and Aerocut Prime, come with over 180 what they call preset templates. These are templates that are created based on popular US paper sizes and popular US cut sizes that are already in the memory of the Aerocut cutters, as well as in the memory of Intellicut library. These are templates you simply, out of the box, day one, will be able to find in a list, bring in your artwork for that specific size, create a PDF, and without any communication ever occurring to the Aerocut whatsoever, scanning that barcode that we add to the template layout and watching it cut. Again, these are already in both devices' memory, so they're simply ready to go out of the box. The Aerocut also offers 100 custom memory slots for what they call Manuset templates. This is 100 additional slots of the memory that are vacant and ready to be programmed with any template layout that you'd like to create yourself. So that is something that the Intellicut software will allow you to create, add to your library in Intellicut for the next time you want to create a PDF for that layout, and also correspondingly add that layout into the Aerocut's memory slots. What you would do is simply create the layout, add your artwork, print it, and be able to scan a barcode automatically on the fly because the Aerocut's already been programmed through that network connection. The third type is a flex mode. This offers complete flexibility. You can set every single cut, crease, perf, and do a number of advanced features, especially on the Aerocut Prime, like jump perfing, cross perfing, perfs that don't go in through the entire page, or are independent perfs that are in the middle of the page without perf before or after it. We're going to be covering flex mode in a future series, but it is something that is completely customizable and creatable within the Intellicut software, as well as creating PDFs for printing for flex mode jobs and programming the Aerocut. That's a new feature. We now offer the capabilities with any job you'd like to create of all 3 distinct template types can be created in Intellicut and controlled through programming of the Aerocut. Again, that's a new feature. That's one of the features that's included within that annual licensing fee of ongoing updates for enhancements to the software as we continue to develop it. I'm going to jump now into the Intellicut software. This is an in-position software and variable data software at its core that acts secondarily as a controller of the Aerocut device through the local area network. As long as that machine is plugged in, I can simply add in an IP address that we've associated to the Aerocut, and these 2 devices are able to communicate with each other and act as a controller. I'm going to begin by clicking on New Job. Anytime I want to create a new PDF file, I select New Job, whether that's for a preset template, a Manuset, or a custom. This is where you begin to select the template you're going to be working on or create a new template that you're going to be creating for the first time. Anytime you select anything in the library list of templates that already exist, you can see you get a preview here. This is another new feature that allows you at any time, whether you're selecting a template in the library or creating a new template, to see exactly what that's going to look like when you finish creating the PDF file. It also includes information like barcodes, placement, alignment mark placement, as well as crease and perf placement, where that will show up when you do create the final PDF. For the first job we're creating today, it is a preset template. So I'm going to filter down by 12 by 18. It's already in my library. Even I didn't have to create it myself. It was already there day one. We're printing on 12 by 18 paper. I'm going to use keyword search to find 5 by 7 postcards. I get two options here, a simplex and a duplex. And I'm creating a one-sided document, so we're going to create simplex. We can now name our project. We also have the ability to change the orientation. Now, this is the orientation of your artwork. And it makes it much easier to be able to bring in artwork that's oriented the exact same way as we create our template. So I'm going to change the orientation of this to portrait. You can see both the paper and the cut orientation has rotated. This makes it so that I don't have to rotate artwork later when I bring it in. It just alleviates a step in the future, and I think it's easier this way. I'm going to turn bleed on, and you can see now a pink area has showed up where that bleed space will be brought into the job, and I'm going to finish. We always work in the one-up view within our software because we're generally bringing in the one-up artwork of the job that's going to be finished, and then we do the multi-up and posing. So you will always be bringing in one-up artwork, whether that's a front side or a front side and a back side. Because we're only doing simplex, we have only one tab here for front side, but if it was duplex, we would have a front side and a back side tab available here to bring in both pieces of artwork. There are 3 different import abilities. Most of the time, we're going to be using an import image button right here. This import image is if you want to create a job that has a single image file extrapolated multiple times onto the page. So multied up the same image 4 times on the page in this case, or 24 up on a business card in that situation, the same image brought in multiple times. You can bring in a 1-page image if it's simplex. You could also bring in the 2-page PDF in this import image button if it's duplex, which is taking the front page, the first page as the front, and the second page as the back. When I add my artwork file, which is what we're going to be bringing in today, you'll see that it's placed onto the one-up area, and it indicates the pink line shows where that bleed is going to be cut off. I can always select Preview in Position to see what that's going to look like when it's multied up and posed and I create my PDF. Which is really actually all that is ready. At this point, I've brought in my artwork, I've selected a preset template, brought in my artwork, and I'm ready to create my PDF, which I'll be doing now and sending to the printer. The software, actually, I have it set up so that it automatically opens up Adobe. I'm going to go File, Print, and send this directly to the printer. Because it's a preset template, this barcode will automatically scan, and nothing else further needs to occur. I do want to talk briefly about the other 2 areas, abilities of importing, because these cover variable data. Variable data will be covered in more detail in a future session, but just so you're aware, I wanted to make you familiar with how variable data works and functions within the software, especially how it functions specifically for the Aerocut cutter. You can bring in PDF pages of variable data that's already merged. This allows you to bring in any number of PDF pages that have been given to you with variables already placed on each page. A good example is if a customer gives you a 500-page PDF of tickets, each individual page is a ticket with a number and barcode on it. Or maybe a 700-page PDF they provide with you to you of a 5 by 7 pages that have addresses already merged for postcards. If you are already using a variable data tool, or a customer provides you with pages that are already merged, you would use PDF pages. The second ability is a recipient list. This is what you would select to find an artwork file. To find a data file, a CSV Excel file that I can then bring in. And once I do that, you'll see that those data fields show up on the right side of the page. Primarily, this is done when we bring in a static import image background artwork file like we've done now, and we want to add variable data on top of it. Usually that is something like addressing. You can bring in address information into an entire group or individual fields. For example, if I wanted to bring in the first and last name field, I would simply highlight, drag, and drop. And this is now a data field for merging that will change on each page that's created. I can change the formatting of this, change the size, the color, and anything I like, the font itself, to match with the aesthetics of the piece. You can bring in individual fields. You can also bring in groups of fields for addresses. And I really very quickly here want to show you how to bring in barcoding. Barcoding is a hugely utilized feature within the software. Two-dimensional barcodes. We have offered both one-dimensional and two-dimensional. A very popular one for two-dimensional is Intelligent Mail barcode. If you have a 65 character code for your IMDb barcode, you can simply drag that field into the barcode text box that's created, and now you have a completely created IMDb barcode that will change from record to record. In any case, no matter how you're doing variable in our software, ordering is of the utmost importance. We know that your PDFs pages or your data files have been ordered specifically. Most of the time, they're ordered very specifically in terms of being able to accomplish postal mail sort discounts or numeric or chronological sorting that needs to be retained when finished. Our software knows exactly how your documents are going to cut and stack. And because of that, we can on the fly use background intelligence to order the pages exactly how they're going to finish and retain the ordering of those jobs when they're finished, so that you have two stacks that you'll place one on top of the other. We do that without any manual intervention. We know each job is stacked differently based on the rotation and how they're fed into the machine, whether they're fed short edge or long edge. We take all of that into account and automatically retain that ordering for how the machine is going to finish it. Another huge advantage of the imposition software, knowing what device and the specifics of that device and how it's going to finish. So now that I've added a data file, I'll just quickly create a PDF here that merges those data fields. And you can see when I bring this in now, we now have variable names and barcodes on each page. And again, these are in order that the data file that we brought in and how they're going to cut and stack. Extremely beneficial tool. Variable data softwares and imposition softwares are generally very expensive, and they do not include intelligence with your finishing equipment. This is all included within the purchase of the Aerocut Velocity and Prime with 1 year's license. All right, very quickly here, we're going to create our second job for the day, and that is going to be a custom template, what the Aerocut calls Manuset templates. We're going to again select new job, but this time we know that the template we're looking for is not included within this library, and we'd like to add it to the library. Any custom template you create will be added to the bottom of your template library for future use. And again, even custom templates you can preview to see exactly what they're going to look like when finishing. So these are all custom templates we've created. Some have bleed and creases, etc. To create a new custom template, you will always select the first option in the list, which is custom template, and press next. Now you're offered a couple of things we have to do to name and number the template. The Aerocut, again, offers 100 memory slots that can be programmed simultaneously and concurrently at any time. You have 100 slots that you can use within the Aerocut. By selecting the select from list, because I'm on an area networked machine in the office that I'm in right now, I now can talk to the Aerocut. This is an exact snapshot. It's actually communicating with the Aerocut as we speak of every template that's in the list for the Manuset section. I can see that all the first templates, I can see what their names are, and I can see vacant slots. Now at this point, you have the ability to either select a vacant slot, which is what I'm going to do today, or look at a template, an existing slot that I know I'm not going to use, and overwrite it. Hugely beneficial. Another new feature we added to the software over time after release. This really took away an inefficiency where people had to manually track the templates in the list or go over to the machine every time they wanted to make sure they weren't going to overwrite a template they'll use again in the future. By selecting a vacant slot, I've now done the only step necessary for barcoding to work. This will now make sure that every time I create a PDF from this template, even after I've saved it and used it again, it will always use the appropriate barcode number 28, and it will always program this template and we will program this template into slot number 28, so that this is the first and last time that anything needs to be done, and barcoding from here on out will work and knows exactly where to save it and what barcode will be placed. I'm going to now name my template. This is the name of the template that's going to be inside of your imposition tool next time you want to create this. Again, anytime you create a custom template, the next time you want to use that same layout, it will already be in your library at the bottom of the list, and it is keyword searchable. So I'm going to simply use what is the common naming convention, which is paper size, 12 by 18 in this case, and cut size, 5.25 by 4, and I'm going to say there's a crease in there. Now I can search for this next time I'm looking for it by the exact specifications, even if it's for a different customer who's looking to use it for a different campaign. Here we simply enter in those three pieces of information I was talking about before. Paper size, in this case 12 by 18, and take a look at the preview as I do this. It will update on the fly as I enter in cut size, 5.25 by 4, and I add bleed. And this is continually showing me exactly what that's going to look like. I love this new preview feature. It really lets a designer experiment with what's going to get me the best usage of my resources. If by selecting different paper sizes and different orientations, we can see what's going to give me the most up. In this case, landscape gives me 6 up, whereas portrait gives me 8. You can see what would happen if I use a different size paper. 13 by 19 gets me the same amount of up, but it actually uses more waste. So we can determine that 12 by 18 is the perfect amount of space needed to accommodate for a small amount of margin on the top of the page for barcode and alignment mark. All of that barcode, alignment mark, crop marks, all that information was automatically added to the template for us. We did not have to do any customizing or manual programming whatsoever. I simply put in paper size, cut size, and I added bleed. Now this template is saved into the library of Intellicut. The imposition software now has this in its library. And now we're ready to program the Aerocut. The first thing I like to do is I like to go to the preview imposition, take a look at it, make sure everything looks good. You can always make any sort of adjustments you'd like, change the margin, pitch, width, but remember that everything that we've done by default and any adjustments we allow you to do are always going to ensure that they're compatible with the Aerocut. Again, the Aerocut has some very specific rules. A big one is what they call the gutter size here between cards. This always has to be a certain size. There's rules from the first cut from the bottom, specific margins requirements, and things like that. That will be ensured that anything you do or create will always meet those requirements. Once I take a look at the preview and ensure that everything looks up to my needs, I also now want to add a crease. I think the easiest way to add a crease is first add our artwork. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add my artwork because then I'm going to draw on top of it. I'm going to draw where the crease is going to occur. So I've added my artwork. Now I go back to preview and position, and I simply select add crease when I'm in the preview menu. I'm now going to draw about on the page where I believe that crease to go. I can zoom in, and then you'll see that now I've added a crease to one row. Is that applied that crease to all subsequent rows? I actually think it's pretty good, but I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to use my keys to just go down a tiny bit. You can use your keys to go up and down. And you can also always go to the configure menu to ensure that if you know the measurement, you can actually modify it here. I'm going to change that to 2, which is just a little bit off. Now my crease is correct. Obviously, the software already knows where all the cuts are going to occur. So now I'm going to go to paper cuts and I'm going to program my Aerocut. That's it. The Aerocut is now programmed. It did it through the Office network connection. It knew exactly every cut and every crease that needed to be programmed. It knew what barcode to program it under. And now we simply need to create our PDF. Before I move on, I do want to point out that this screen automatically appears. This is our paper cuts menu. If you do not have a network connection, if you're not able to string up a network cord to where your Aerocut is installed, or if your network is down for whatever reason, we provide you with this screenshot. If you go to program an Aerocut Manuset template by hand, this is the screen that you are presented with on the Aerocut interface, except obviously no numbers are filled in. So what you are given now is the ability to take a picture of this or print this screen out and enter in individually all the numbers without having to do manual calculations. This is a very huge advantageous feature for people who may not be able to have a network connection. You can always change this between Prime and Velocity as the screens differ just a little bit. Finally, we're going to create our PDF and we're going to print it. And by doing that, we are ready to go over to a live video recording of us taking these from the printer and finishing them. Again, the preset template already in the memory of the machine. That's the first job we'll be cutting on the Aerocut. And the custom template we created, we very quickly were able to program everything necessary through the Office network connection. So the operator, when picking up these pages, as we'll see in a second here, will never need to program a single thing into the Aerocut's interface. We'll simply pick up the pages, cut them, go on with other work that they have, and print more in less time. No wasting time in the office by having to figure out settings, ensuring that they're compatible with the machine, and ensuring that their layouts meet the settings that they've programmed into the machine by hand. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand it over to the live webinar demonstration now.
Thank you, Zach. We're going to now take the jobs that were created in the Intellicut software after they've been printed and cut them on the Aerocut Prime. There were two jobs that we did today, one in the standard preflex mode. That was the 5x7 postcard. As you can see, the art that we're using today is along the theme of applications that printers are doing a lot of, which is to produce materials for safety measures and COVID. We also are offering this artwork to anyone who is interested. We're happy to provide that to you, that you can create pieces like this or similar for your state. In this case, this is a standard 5x7 postcard on a 12x18 page. This falls into the standard preset library. What's great about the Aerocut cutters is they already have a standard set of jobs already programmed into the library. We simply place the barcode on the page that's read by the machine, and it automatically adjusts to the preset template. These templates are also compatible with the VR Cut Ready Triumph series. We are offering webinars on the unique ability to be able to drive jobs on a Triumph cutter with this technology, and we encourage you to look at LytrodLive for looking into those sessions. We are going to be cutting on an Aerocut Prime cutter. The Aerocut Prime has the ability to also cross perf and jump perf. Those capabilities are available in the flex mode. On next week, we will be having a flex mode session talking about making very popular applications like tent cards, ID cards, and a variety of other applications. We encourage you to join that session to learn more about that. Today, we're going to just talk about the basic idea of layout, which you've already seen, and then how an operator would run the machine. If we can get a close-up here of the panel, let me just give you a few pointers. There's really very little the operator has to do because we have programmed everything onto the job itself. But in order to invoke the two important things, one is the barcode option. So you can simply turn that off. You also have the option to have it check the barcode. If it notices that the barcode has changed from the last job, it stops the machine in this mode. This might be something you want to do. What if the next job requires adjusting the paper input guides, or perhaps how you're going to be adjusting the perfs? Then you want the operator to stop and intervene to do those manual processes. But the other option, the one we'll be using today, is just called change. This is when you want a job, and we have many customers who do this, who sheet after sheet, they might have a packet of 4 sheets that are going to a single customer, all finished in a different way. They can have those be collated, and one page would produce a postcard, one would produce a something that's a folded card, so it will just produce the packet one after the next. So it'll read the barcode. If it notices there's a change, it will just immediately adjust and feed the paper through. So that's the mode we're going to show today. The second is the cut mark. I think that was maybe explained in the previous session, but just to review, this is a very important mark we put on the page. This allows the cutter to begin the cutting process from the top of the mark to the first cut. on cut sheet printers, those of you who've worked with them, you know that there can be a slight shift page by page on how it images. If we measure from the top of the page to the first cut, then that could actually cut a little bit off, and that can vary, like I say, page to page. An adjustment you can't make on a guillotine, but you can on a digital cutting device like the Aerocut. So if the image is shifted slightly in the printing process, because there was a little bit of a feed shift, then it will say, okay, this little mark has also shifted with the first cut, and it will just continue. Okay, so this is how the operator would start a job. You simply, and let me step in front of the camera here so you can get a better view. In fact, I had some finished pieces here. I'm going to remove those so you can get a better view. I'm going to load the paper into the paper tray. And as I hit the start button here, it raises the tray. And what we're looking for is, as it feeds the paper, you'll notice a red infrared light. It's going to read the barcode. If it notices that the machine needs an adjustment, it will back the sheet out, adjust the machine. See how it did that? And now it's going to adjust the slitters and get all set. Now it'll feed the job. The next sheet is already feeding, and the next sheet, and it just continues on. It runs very smoothly. I just had it programmed to cut 3 sheets. The Aerocut Prime comes with this conveyor belt so that you can have the pages fall to the conveyor belt, or you can have them fall into a drop tray. The second job that we're going to look at is the what's called the Manuset. Manuset is when you have evenly, or let me see, the same size type cards multi-upped on a page, but maybe you have additional finishing or a size that's not supported. In the example we gave, we had a card that is on a 12 by 18 paper, and it had some crease information involved in the card itself. So you can, the programming of this type of a thing, you would have to go in and program all of this, program all the creases. What's great about the Intellicut software, as you saw, is it does this all automatically. It lays it out perfectly. All of these measurements are calculated. You just click on the mouse where you want your crease. It places that perfectly. So you don't have to do any operator programming. I just wanted to give you an idea of how you would go about manually programming this. But once you hit send to Aerocut, it's programmed perfectly into the machine. So let me just step again around the camera and get my job here. I'm going to take a few of these so we can put them into the cutter. So I'll point out again, we have the Aerocut Prime barcode. This has been programmed into position 17. There are 100 positions that you can program the machine. As you saw in the demo, you can select an empty position, hit save, and it will automatically program the machine. Again, critical for the proper placement of the cut is the cut mark. And you can see that all the artwork is laid out so that we'll have a crease right here to build little tent cards. Again, without any operator intervention, and this literally saves hours for any of you who've tried to program a slitter cutter creaser and then program your imposition software. Even if you can kind of have a little communication back and forth, it's still a struggle and testing. As you can see, in a matter of about 2 minutes, everything was created and programmed. We simply click run. The barcode is red. It notices it needs to make some adjustments to the machine. And it starts to finish. This is a fairly complex finishing with having all of these creases, and pick these up so you can get a better idea of the crease. So as you can see, we have the crease here. And so these little tent cards, these are typically used for the template we had before was for little name tags that would be placed on at a conference. You can see we've taken that same design, and now maybe this is a little reminder you would put on the counter at a doctor's office or a restaurant to remind folks for social distancing. So that's the flexibility of the Manuset mode and the preset mode. Well, we really appreciate your attendance, and we have a series that will be going through mid-November. Each week we'll have a same idea where we focus one day on the Aerocut, one day on the Triumph cutters. And then we'll kind of mix it up with different topics, and we encourage you to write us at sales@lytrod.com if there's a particular feature you're interested in. We thank you again so much for attending.